Good late afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is James Ramos from At the Quarter Pole, and here are my final picks for the 2025 Breeders' Cup races. And I'm going to start out with the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Sprint on the sixth race on Friday. My two picks, there's two I like, is Brussels and Lenny Lou. Now, Brussels has a case of the second itis, is running in from Europe, has Christian Soumillon be running the races, and has the possibility of coming in and paying really good price at 8 to 1. Should go up more than 8 to 1. And this is the horse I like. Lenny Lou has the outside possibility from the speedy Patrick Bean Comb Farm, and he shows a ton of speed and will likely be on the outside, looking from the outside speed, looking on the inside. He could be able to rate, has a really good shot at 5/8 in a mile. 5/8 in a mile. It's a potentially good paying race in this race, ladies and gentlemen. These are the two prices I like. Lenny Lou's at 6 to 1, and Brussels is at 8 to 1. On to the next race, the seventh race, ladies and gentlemen. Next race will be the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. And my pick are here's Iron Orchard, and my earlier pick and my number one horse I like the most is gonna be Tommy Joe. Now Tommy Joe has an extraordinary good workout on the training track at Saratoga at 47-4 on the training track, and I've always liked the angle of horses running on the training track, but that is a one speedy work. Now the horse industry and a lot of handicappers doesn't think that Tommy Joe has a shot because he kind of lingered and was one pace at the race at Keeneland, but that was his first time going around two turns and being a female horse out of Into Mischief and the Grand Star being out of Pioneer. Now should get handled a mile and 1/16. Now that's the horse I like with Iron Orchard, who shows a lot of training track works out from Danny Gargan. He's been on the training track at running at 4/8 a mile, 48, 48, and 49. Steady, good workouts. And these are two horses I like. But as earlier in this month, my number one pick is Tommy Joe in the seventh race. On to the eighth race, John Deere Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies on the turf. As I look through the program, and my pick would be, if I start scrolling back, would be Precise. Precise has a bat post at the 13th, unlucky 13, but it does fall on Halloween Day, which is the October 31st, which kind of makes it interesting. Horse being on Aiden O'Brien, and this horse just shows a ton of wins. The last four races, he's just in the money, and it's going to be a hard horse to beat, ladies and gentlemen. I don't like the odds, but you're asking me truthfully what horse I like, and that would be Precise in this race. Precise, my pick in the juvenile turf. Female. On to the ninth race. And my pick was before early this month was going to be Brandt. Brandt won the Delmar Futurity, has the home field advantage, drew the 7 post, which is a good post. He's going to have company on the outside with Ted Nafi. Now, Ted Nafi and the wise guys, the handicappers really like this horse. They think that he showed a better race than Brandt winning the Delmar Futurity. His buyers went from 101 to 91. I'm speaking of Brandt. That went from 101, main special weight winner, down to a 91 when he won the Delmar Futurity. But let's be honest, folks. This horse is a $3 million horse, and he's 2 for 2. At 5-2, that's a decent price. Comparing to a lot of yours are going to be bet down on the turf races. If you like Ted Nafi, I can't blame you. I had Ted Nafi when he won his Breeders' Cup. When he won his maiden at Saratoga. But I'm taking the home field horse here in Brandt. I think that this horse is going to be the early line favorite for the Kentucky Derby. Hopefully that he'll show a good improvement and will win this race. So my pick in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile on the dirt is Brandt. The 10th race, the last race on Friday for the Breeders' Cup races. And my number one pick is Botas, coming out of the Miguel Clement training of Miguel Clement coming out of his barn. And he was wonderful at Saratoga. He won his main special weight at mile 116, 141-3 for a 2-year-old on the turf. He beat Here's Johnny, next going out in stakes company. He's 2 for 2. He's got the outside draw again, which could be kind of a liability, ladies and gentlemen. But I like Botas, the 12 horse, at 8-1. So that is my pick for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile turf. As I put these programs away, I'll begin the shuffle on to Saturday now. Saturday for November 1st, and starting for the first Breeders' Cup race will be the fourth race, ladies and gentlemen, will be the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. And this is a kind of a wide open race, ladies and gentlemen. I had it down to 2 horses, and the 2 horses I'm looking at is going to be Ricci and Zetlos. Zetlos has the inside post. It's not going to be a detriment. He's going to come off the pace. 7/8 of a mile, should have plenty of pace to run at. And I like this horse because he was third behind Baba in the CTA, and it was only a 6/8 of a mile. This is 7/8 a mile. He's 20-1, and I just can't pass that place. Show bet, win bet, use him in the exotics. I like Zetos for a big long shot. Has a rider Joel Rosario be in the irons, which is always a positive on closers. Ricci's got a really good shot in this race. He's going to be from the Bob Baffert barn. He also is going to be shortening up from mile 116 to 7/8 of a mile, which I do like that. He was came in second to Cavallari in the last race of the Zenyatta Stakes. He's going to be 5-1. I don't see that horse being at 5-1. I think he's going to be bet down. So I'm using those 2 in the exotics would be Zetlos and Ricci. So they'll be the 1 and the 9 horse in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. Put these programs away. On to the next race will be the 5th race. Will be the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. This one was going to be an interesting race. Shows a lot of value. The horse I like is going to be the 4 horse Kadim. He's going to be the 4th race coming off a layoff. He just won the Woodward Stakes. It's going to have the rider assistance of Lafranco Dettori, and he is much improved the last 2 sprint races. 1 race at Kentucky Downs where he came in 3rd. Then he moved up in Keeneland and won a race. So his form is trending in the right way. At 10-1 with Frankie Dettori, can't beat that odds. If you've not sold on that horse, She's So Spicy coming out of the D'Angelo farm, coming from Churchill Downs, has got really good speed. He ran this 3rd in Music City. He's got the 10 slot, not too far outside from the 11 or 12. So She's So Spicy, Kadim are my 2 picks in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. And that's the 5th race, ladies and gentlemen. Sixth race will be the Breeders' Cup Sprint. And my 2 picks in this one, again, I have to go 2 horses. I like Banishing. Banishing now is going to be in the Chad Summers barn now. Was David Jacobson's horse. It was some kind of thing going on with the David Jacobson about his license. I'm not sure what that was all about. I got that news from Breeders' Cup at Del Mar. That was the information I have. But he ran 3rd at the Lucas Classic behind Mystic Dan, who Mystic Dan was in a world of trouble, still won the race. It's a mile 1/8, shortened it to 6/8 of a mile. And a lot of people say, well, he's going to be coming off the pace, right? Well, he will. But considering that he ran in the Lucas Classic G2 and ran such a good 3rd in that race, it's hard to throw him out. He's got the inside, which is not going to bother this horse, ladies and gentlemen, because he's going to show closing ability. The next horse besides Banishing I like in this race, it would be the Imagination. Imagination won the San Anita Sprint by 3 3/4 with Juan Hernandez. Juan Hernandez, before that, never rode this horse the second time out. He's also moving forward and also stabled here at the California base at Del Mar. And coming from Santa Anita, it's not going to be such a make this horse worry. I think he's got an excellent shot. If you don't like Banishing, then definitely you have to like Imagination at the Bob Baffert barn. 7th race, the Breeders' Cup Distaff. I don't like Nitrogen on the inside. I didn't like Darth Vader being way on the outside 12, though Darth Vader has been training really well and excellent. But the outside at a mile 1/8, he's going to have to get to that turn within a furlong, trying to push on, get close to the rail. The horse I liked that was very interesting was Sarwak Rim, trained by Ignacio and ridden by Irad Ortiz. It's funny that Irad Ortiz is picking up this horse and not Clickwet, who won the last year's this year's Catania race. Now he's the unknown X Factor at 12-1, just because his Irad Ortiz is going to be bet down. But the unknown factor is the X factor is Sarah Rim. A horse that also show up for the exotics would be Scottish Lassie, the 5. Everybody says why Scottish Lassie didn't run up the race. And the last race, it continued beaten by 3 lengths. Comes out of the same race, Clickwood and Dry Powder. Now he bounced off the coaching club Oaks out of Saratoga, is my opinion. After winning by 15.5 lengths, he comes back to Cotillion, different composition of the track, going from Saratoga to Parks. So Parks was a deeper track, and everybody said, well, since he was a halfway decent closer, he was off the pace by 3 and never kicked it in. I believe that Scottish Lassie is not a Parks horse, and he might show improvement, and you have to play him in the supers and trifectas at 12-1. So Scottish Lassie, Sark Rim are the 2 horses I like. For a big bomb in there too, the bottom half of the superfecta, Dry Powder. Dry Powder came into Del Mar early by Chad Summers, been training excellently. He had a 6/8 of a workout, 114-3. And these I know all long shots, but I do not like nitrogen on the inside. I don't like Dor Vader being way out 12. This is about as wide as it gets, and it's always going to be long shots in the Breeders' Cup, and these are the 3 horses you have to consider in your tries or exactors, even your wins or crowds or multi-place bets or show bets, whatever you like. Because even in the Breeders' Cup, show bets are going to be paying pretty well. Eighth race would be the Breeders' Cup Turf. My horse earlier that I mentioned was Goliath, coming out of Germany. The trainer doesn't bring horses out to the United States very often. They supplement this horse for $200,000, 8-1. He's been running against the best horses out in Europe. Last year at the King George, he beat August Rodin, who I touted as the best turf horse last year, and he beat him soundly. He ran after winning the King George. He ran into Japan Cup. He ran incredible 6, considering how international field that was. Now, Francis Gaffard is bringing this horse into Del Mar, where he doesn't ship. He's shipping him and supplement this horse for $200,000. He's my long shot play for that race. You can't ignore Rebels Romance because his qualities. The 7-year-old still runs like he's a 4-year-old. He doesn't need this race. He looks absolutely beautiful. He ran the Turf Classic, ran a good win. It wasn't against a solid group, but he didn't anything special to get to this race because he already had your win in your race for the Breeders' Cup Turf. Mini Hawk is very interesting. The reason why I think the Mini Hawk could be an underling of the year, but he's 8-5, ran 2nd in the Prix d'Arc de Triomphe, and he's coming back. And let's go back to the Wayback Machine. The Mini Hawk's a 3-year-old filly. The last time a 3-year-old filly won this race was back in 1985, a horse called Pebbles. And he is also the X factor because being a filly is one thing, but being a 3-year-old filly, and I see Mini Hawk going off a semi-overlaid on those bases. I think Rebels Romance is going to get a lot of play. I think Goliath is going to get a lot of play. And to use those 3 in your pick 4s and pick 5s makes sense. But my true long shot at 8-1 is Goliath. You're just looking for a Augusto win or place bet. Goliath in the Breeders' Cup Turf. But you can't leave Rebels Romance or Mini Hawk. Yeah, I know that's Captain Obvious, but you just can't do that. On to the Breeders' Cup Classic, the 9th race. This is probably the easiest race I could give to everybody, and been on Forever Young since last year's Breeders' Cup. I'm going Forever Young. Sad news, we lost Sovereignty despite a fever. From Bill Mott, they gave the horse medication. He spiked the fever again. He was withdrawn. It was really sad news because I like Sovereignty too. I mean, it was my Kentucky Derby pick. Didn't like him in this race against Forever Young, especially at 6-5. It breaks the change in the morning line now. Goes to Fiercest Being at the favorite at 5-2, and that's a hard bet. Considering what he did in the Pacific Classic, where he veered to the left, almost dumped John Velasquez in. And doesn't matter. Forever Young is my play. I think I've been counting this horse for about a year and a half now. And the exact I like with Forever Young is going to be the key box with Mindframe X Factor, because he dumped his rider in his last race, and we never know how good. Before that, Mindframe had won the Stephen Foster and the Churchilltown Handicap. So if you cross that race out, ladies and gentlemen, with Mindframe, that's one heck of a horse, an 8-1 or 6-1, whatever he's going to be. With the new line change, you got to play him and exacta. Most of using journalism. Journalism is training like lights out. Last workout, San Anita was 102-4. And the horse is just arching his neck. He's just full of himself. And you just can't let that horse get away from you in exacta. But a horse, my number one pick is Forever Young with those two horses in exacta. On to the 10th race, and this was going to be another horse from Charles Appelé. I like his notable speech. He's shown since he's come over from France. He last won at Woodbine, winning the Woodbine mile. He looks impressive, and he was here before, running third behind More Than Looks and Johannes, and that was a very competitive race. So in the Delmar Turf Mile, notable speech, long shot play in that race. I had two of Program Trading. This horse shows up every time for Chad Brown, though he's an American-based horse out of the East Coast. Chad knows, as we know, knows how to train. He hasn't missed a board in 10 outs. Now, why are you going to leave this horse out of your Zaptors or tries or super fat at 10-1 Flavor and Pratt? You got to use him. Another long shot to use is Yonki with the European horse coming out fourth at the Turf Mile in Keeneland. He was showing marked improvement. He's also at 10-1. So those, my number one, of course, my number one pick is Notable Speech of going exact trifectas with 1 Keen to 10, and also Program Training number 5. On to the 11th race, and this is going to be the Breeders' Cup Mile. The horse that's training lights out. There's two horses I like that's training lights out, and that's going to be Mystic Dan and White Ambario. White Ambario won this year's Pegasus World Cup, and he won by 6.5 lengths. 4 horses behind those horses. It was Locked and Mixto all ran credible races. Locked won the Santa Anita Handicap back in March. Mixto ran second in the Dubai World Cup right behind Hit Show. So that was a productive race. His form, White Ambario's form, went off this summer going into the spring and summer. He had multiple excuses. White Ambario was in a race where Mindframe dumped the jockey. He got bounced around a little bit. I'm throwing that race out. He looks really well, training really well at Del Mar, and you have to watch out for this horse. At the 8-1 being on the 10 post, I like him for a price. Also, Mystic Dan ran incredible in the Lucas Classic, even with the rider assistance going from Brian Hernandez to Francisco Arrieta. And that's going to be my play, the 4-10, use them in horizontal bets, also win bets. If I had to say which one's better, I like the way White Ambario is training in the morning. And he's won in California. He won the, as we know, Breeders' Cup Classic in 2023. Wasn't a sensational field, but he's winning the mile, which is going to be an easier race. Now, the Kentucky Derby winner, Mystic Dan, his work at Keeneland was a 48-4, but boy, did he look good in that race. He was all dappled. He looked really great. And he's pulling the rider up, and the rider says, "You're not going that fast. We can get you 44-4." And those two horses I like for a price. Nisos, no way I'm going to take this horse, regardless of his win percentage. I know he's got Bob Baffert. He's 8-5. The horse you don't know if he's going to show up. You know, before the running of this race, he might be scratched because he's hurt again. And I can't take Nisos. Goal orientated. 3-year-old, running against older, very fast horse. He's situated Bob Baffert, but he's got 3 bullets back, but hopefully he might just be working so fast in the morning that come the afternoon, he's all spent. Everybody says, well, it works back 2 and 3 weeks ago. Yeah. We got to remember, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes a horse rather works sometimes without company or with company, but in the afternoon, they don't show up, especially when they get challenged. I just don't see him. If you like him, ladies and gentlemen, that's your call, that's your privilege. But Mystic Dan and White Ambario is the 2 horses I like in a mile. Last race, 12th race, the Maker's Mark Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Turf, and I was touting Cinderella's Dream. Charles Appleby thinking that this horse is on the improve. I concur with that. I like Cinderella's Dream. Exactly to use for exotics behind him would be Gazora, and he ran in the pre-arc behind Mini Hop, but he was well off it. This is a breakdown. He's going less in class, coming from the arc, running in the Breeders' Cup Philly Mare Turf. So Gazora be in the exacta with Cinderella's Dream. I'm getting good odds of Cinderella's Dream at 92. And another horse on the outside, as I look through this, would be See the Fire. He has form at 3-1. 80 O'Brien's got the 14 posts, but you ask me one horse I'm going to play and probably single them in exotics, like the horizontal bets. I like Cinderella's Dream. That was my tout horse before. I know I changed in Audible certain things from my last videos, ladies and gentlemen, but I also mentioned I could do that if there's scratches, something that I seen in the form that I like better. So my apologies, but those I try to stay pretty much what I like. Cinderella's Dream's a horse I like. Forever Young was a horse I like right off the get-go. So was Goliath in the Turf, Tommy Joe in the film, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Philly race, and also, of course, Brandt. So I'm shooting about 60-40. I had a couple of audibles, but that's what I'm reading the racing for. I'm finally getting the form, getting the post business, and see what I like in the races is what I finally handicapped for today. And I'm sorry if I'm a little rattling. I try to do as many. I did 14 races in under half an hour. That's pretty darn good. But all I can say, ladies and gentlemen, have a good Breeders' Cup race. Luck on Friday and Saturday. That's all I have for you today. This is James Ramos from At the Quarter Pole, where winning and history run that connect. Have a good late afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.